Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives, is a very tough woman. She's been in Congress well over 100 years. She's seen a lot of different things. Not too much scares her, unless we're talking about China. So much so that she's warning U.S. athletes to not speak out about anything like, humanitarian issues while they're over there participating in the Olympic Games. We're going to take a look at what she had to say when she was in front of a panel. Here is Miss Nancy Pelosi warning U.S. athletes.
I would say to our athletes, you're there to compete. Do not risk incurring the anger of the Chinese government because they are ruthless. Wow. I know there is a temptation on the part of some to speak out while they are there. I respect that, but I also worry about what the Chinese government might do to their reputations, to their families.
Wow. So bite your tongue when you're over there. Don't speak out about the Uyghurs. Don't speak out about any humanitarian issues, about democracy, freedom of speech, Hong Kong, any of these issues that many politicians back here in the United States bloviate about, mostly meaninglessly, but they do talk about it. Just shut up about it. Go play your game. Listen to the Chinese. Play by their rules. And then come back. She's not wrong. The Chinese are ruthless. The FBI and the Cyber and Infrastructure Security Agency, they are releasing this. It's called a PIN. This is a private industry notification being sent out to warn entities associated with these Olympics in Beijing in February 22 and March that malicious cyber actors could use a broad range of cyber activities to disrupt these events. Things like social engineering, denial of service attacks, ransomware, malware, phishing campaigns, disinformation campaigns, and other insider threats. FBI also warns Olympic participants and travelers of potential threats associated with mobile applications developed by untrusted vendors. FBI says keep your personal cell phone at home, use a temporary phone while attending the events. And they go through, and this is actually what it looks like. This is the private industry notification from the FBI, the cyber division. And this is something that goes out to a number of different people who are sort of in this, industry. It's a notification from the government. This is what we know. Pay attention. And they detail the threat. It says, as we mentioned in a prior one that we released back in July, it looks like, large, high-profile events provide an opportunity for criminal and nation-state cyber actors to make money, sow confusion, increase notoriety, discredit adversaries, and advance ideological goals, like the goals of the Chinese Communist Party. Due to the pandemic, no foreign spectators are going to be allowed to attend Olympics or Paralympics. Spectators will be reliant on remote streaming services, and so adversaries could use social engineering and phishing campaigns to implant malware and disrupt broadcasting events. DDoS attacks, we've got actors could target network hotels, mass transit providers, ticketing services, event security infrastructure, and all sorts of stuff. They say back in 2020, there were more than 450 million attempted cyber-related incidents. And while there were no major disruptions, the most popular attack were malware, email spoofing, phishing, fake websites, streaming services, etc. So it says, just keep this all in mind, right? Now, all of that, in addition to what COVID brought for us, which gives additional tracking tools, malicious code. They're going to use smartphone apps and new digital infrastructure and mobile applications to test and manage COVID, vaccine status, all that stuff. So they have no doubt it's going to be used to track athletes' health and their travel data as well. So be apprised about this. Now, the United States government, of course, is sort of caught in this precarious position with China. They're sort of a major adversary in many respects. They're also a major partner in many respects. You've got many people on both sides of the political aisle in the United States bending the knee to China in a multitude of sort of varieties. Often the biggest way that we see this happen is just with sort of an ignoring or a cover-up of any conversations about the Uyghurs and the ongoing genocide there. And so, to the Biden administration's credit, they did take some action on this some time ago. Jenn Psaki last year announced there was going to be a diplomatic boycott of these Olympics. And what that means, we're going to see as the Olympics unfold. Here is Jenn Psaki telling what the Biden administration's intentions were then.
The Biden administration will not send any diplomatic or official representation to the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games, given the PRC's ongoing genocide and crimes against humanity in Xinjiang and other human rights abuses. The athletes on Team USA have our full support. We will be behind them 100% as we cheer them on from home, but we will not be contributing to the fanfare of the games.
Not be contributing to the fanfare of the games, but the athletes can continue to go out and we'll be supporting them from afar. Now, she said that, right? We're not going to be contributing to the fanfare of the games. But then, of course, Joe Biden, when he wakes up from his naps every afternoon, is very interested in watching the games. And so here's what Jenn Psaki said when she was asked, hey, since the Olympics, they're unfolding right now, are you and Joe planning on watching? Here's Jen.
Just a quick final one. Does Biden plan to watch the Olympics, U.S. athletes competing? I think it starts Friday.
Yes, absolutely. We all do. I'm not going to rule out an Olympics outfit here. I would encourage all of you to do the same. Yes, we are looking forward to it and to cheering on our American athletes who will be competing.
Okay, so some people are pointing that out and they're saying, well, those two statements don't really sound like one another. Previously, Jen was saying, look, athletes are free to go. We're going to be boycotting these things and we're not going to be contributing to the fanfare of any of the activities. But then we just heard her say, well, I might actually have an Olympic outfit. I may be coming out here and holding a rally on behalf of the Olympics, which doesn't sort of sound like what you said previously. I'm not so sure that, I'd hold that too much against her. I think maybe she was intending to bifurcate the two, say that she's going to support the athletes while, I guess, still boycotting China. I'm not sure. The real question is going to be what happens as this all unfolds, and more interestingly, if something happens while it unfolds. In particular, if somebody says something or somebody does something that is off script, if somebody does step out of line according to the Chinese code of conduct, what are they going to do about it? And what's the United States going to do about it, if anything? Jenn Psaki was asked about this previously. They said, Jen, look, if the athletes are going to be going over there, if you're not going to contribute to the fanfare, well, what's the White House position on this? Do you support the athletes and the individuals speaking out on behalf of democracy, condemning the Uyghurs and fighting for humanitarian causes? Or are you going to take the side that Nancy Pelosi is on and recommend that they sort of silence themselves so that they protect their reputations and their families? Because this is an important question. Is the U.S. government going to stand behind their citizens if something happens, if an athlete stands up and mouths off, according to the Chinese, speaks out for democracy or American values? Are you going to defend that if this comes down to it? And here is the little bit that we get from Jen on that answer.
Thank you. One on the Olympics. Does the president have a stand on this debate of whether athletes should be able to express political or human rights or anything non-sporting views at the Olympics? I know the Olympics has got some rules, but the Chinese came out today with some pretty tough statements, warning people not to step out of line.
Do you have their back?
What would the president's reaction be if an American athlete gets up on that stand and says, does something?
I think we spoke to this last summer and conveyed a support for freedom of speech of individuals.
That's all we got. So we support freedom of speech for individuals. What does that mean? I'm sure everybody here at the Olympics on all sides of this are hoping that it all just kind of goes off without a hitch. But what if it doesn't? What if somebody does stand up and say something, call the Chinese to task for how they are treating people? How are they going to respond? How's the U.S. government going to respond? And where's it going to go from there? We are going to continue to follow it, of course. We have a live show that we do every weekday. I would love it if you joined us on that. Hit that subscribe button. Join our community because we have a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.